If time is the most important thing above all other things to you, then wasting time watching another of my Relief Factor commercials must be the greatest waste of time ever. I always say, put off doing today what you could do tomorrow if someone will pay you more tomorrow. What does that have to do with this commercial, you may ask? I have absolutely no idea, but I always say that. Hello, it is me again, Sebastian Gorka, back again for a few more quick bucks doing another Relief Factor commercial with uplifting intense piano and classical strings music playing in the background. A few months ago I suffered a severe ribcage injury when I was crushed by the two fat bald guys Pete and Seth Talbot while standing between them doing my 17th commercial for Relief Factor. Today should be the day you reclaim your life and live pain-free with the help of a team of chest wall injury specialists like I do, or whatever medical professionals deal with your particular pain issues. Many people who used to be somebody, like I once was, have walked the streets in Washington, D.C. Thankfully I can walk them again with the assistance of crutches and a portable oxygen tank, and I can tell you that a daily dosage of Relief Factor, along with 120 milligrams of morphine, will make you feel no pain whatsoever. I'm thankful that I'm physically able to be here to tell you to try totally drug-free Relief Factor, and 120 milligrams of morphine, and be totally pain-free until your next dose. Relief Factor is guaranteed to be 100% drug-free and contain absolutely no pain-relieving ingredients, and that is confirmed by scientists and doctors, and over 10,000 negative testimonials. I personally guarantee you that as I do more and more Relief Factor commercials, I feel less and less financial pain. So go to relieffactor.com right now so I can feel the difference. That's 1-800-367-7226. Again, that's 1-800-4-SCAM. For your quick start 30-day supply. I'll be glad you did.
Well, Tony and I started out on our way to South Seas Plantation on Captiva Island to question Clark Powell about his claim to have been an eyewitness to the murder of Miss Sandra Macon. Earlier, when I was driving Chief O'Malley to the crime scene, the 2 Genius Factor tablets I'd washed down in a can of Red Bull kicked in big time. I began thinking more clearly than ever. Everything was as clear as a bell in my head. Well, not only were the pieces of information about this murder beginning to fall into place like some kind of a self-completing jigsaw puzzle, but while I was driving and talking with the chief, for some reason I calculated pi to 6,400 digits. Just a few days ago, I just thought pi was a pastry, not the ratio of the circumference of any circle to the diameter of that circle. While we drove to Sanibel and Captiva Island, I explained to Tony how I knew that Clark Powell killed Sandra Macon and why. I told him that when I saw Mrs. Macon's body at the table, I realized that she had been stabbed while she was leaning forward at the table, probably napping as she told her boss she was planning to do while she was waiting for her 5 o'clock appointment to arrive. I asked Tony if he noticed that the blood on Macon's back had pooled around the entry point of the knife blade and how it ran uniformly onto the table and floor. The fact that the blood did not run down her back and onto the chair showed that she was not in an upright seated position at the time the stabbing occurred. Because the angle of the knife blade was perpendicular to her back, it indicated to me that she was leaning forward at the table and was stabbed in a straight downward motion. That could not have been done if Mandrin was seated upright on the chair, because the unusual height of the chair back would have prevented her killer from stabbing her in such a way. It was obvious to me that the killer entered the home via the front door, found Miss Mandrin leaning forward on the table asleep. There were no signs of a struggle, which indicated that the killer had not knocked on the door or called out or done anything that would have wakened Miss Mandrin, and he entered the home without disturbing her. As the killer approached Mandrin, he must have seen that she was asleep and might have noticed she was wearing an expensive ring and possibly other jewelry, and decided at that moment to murder her for the jewelry. So, he went to the knife block, took the knife out, and stabbed her while she slept. I told Tony that I had no doubt that Powell was the murderer.
Wow, Bricky, yeah. Everything you said, it seems to make sense. But it seems really odd that someone would come to visit a model home and just decide to kill a lady in the sleep for her jewelry. It seems more likely that the killer knew her and knew she'd be here today and had some personal reason to kill her.
Yeah, Tony, that's a standard theory that seems to fit this scenario. As is the theory that her husband, who also might have known she was here today, hired someone to come and kill her. Either theory could be true, and we'll find out that later in the investigation. The one thing I'm certain of is that Clark Powell is the murderer, for whatever reason, because of his eyewitness account and the conditions at the crime scene.
Oh, yeah, that's Sam's son yard work.
Sansu, Tony.
Oh, yeah, it's Sansu. Yeah, I knew that.
It did, huh? Well, now I know what FADA feels like when she talks to me.
What?
Never mind, Tony. Look, neither Mr. Powell nor his dog, even if he has a dog, ran onto this property. And even if they did, as you know, he could not have seen into the house because of the reflective glass on the porch doors.
Oh, yeah, right. He had to have been in the house to even know that she was stabbed.
Well, Tony, as Desi Arnaz always said, Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
Who's Desi Arnaz and who's Lucy?
Tony, did you ever have access to a television when you were growing up?
No. We were always a radio family. Everything's better when you have to listen and let your imagination do the work, you know?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Intelligent people listen to radio plays. They know that radio plays require imagination and allow the mind to create the characters and scenes in their mind. Anywho, Powell murdered Mandrin in accordance with what the principle of parsimony says.
You sure know a lot of principles, Brick. I don't even remember any of my teachers. I never heard of parsimony. Was that your high school? You know, I thought you went to Cypress Lake High.
Tony, I'm talking about Occam's razor. No ocula ocumi, which states that entities should not be multiplied beyond necessity.
Rick, are you feeling all right, pal? Maybe we should go see Dr. Hamadari.
I'm fine, Tony. In fact, I'm great.
Rick, listen to yourself. You just said that some principal named Occam at some school named Parsimony has a razor that talks to him that says you shouldn't multiply entities. Even if you do feel great, that does sound a little weird.
Tony, what I'm saying is that when you have several theories that compete with each other about something, it's usually the simplest theory that's the answer.
Oh? Well, it didn't sound like you said that. Of course, I'm just basing that on what you actually said.
Oh, Lord. It was so much easier before the genius factor thing.
It sure was for me, I can tell you that.
Look, Tony, it's obvious that Clark Powell had first-hand information of Sandra Mandrin's murder, but not simply as a witness. He had to be in the room with her. He didn't enter by the back porch. It's also obvious that whoever killed Mandrin used a weapon of convenience to kill her. That, of course, would be the knife from the knife block. Now, at this point, we're uncertain about his motive, but nonetheless, we have probable cause to arrest Powell for Mandrin's murder. So, the simplest answer to who killed Mandrin is that Clark Powell did it.
Well, why did you just say that in the first place instead of telling me that some principal named Occam had a razor that talks to him and told him that Clark Powell was the simplest answer to who committed the murder? It sounds like Joe Biden might have said that in one of his speeches. Of course, he would have concluded that Donald Trump did it.
Well, of course he would have. I guess you're right, though, partner. My answer was probably labyrinthine.
Yeah, and it was very confusing.
That's what labyrinthine... never mind.
But tell me something, Brick. Why would Powell report the murder and place himself at the crime scene?
Well, it might be because he was seen at the murder scene by someone, or he had reason to think he was seen by someone. It's certain that Powell didn't enter the home by the back door, so he must have entered and left through the front. It might be that someone drove by or walked by when he entered or left the home. So the best plan he could come up with on the spur of the moment was to call in the crime as a murder he witnessed and try to put himself on a wild goose chase.
Yeah, but we're going to cook his wild goose, ain't we, Brick?
We sure are, Tony.
Hey, Brick, according to what Officer Renz told me, there's nobody living in that subdivision at this time, and all the visitations there today have been by appointment. The home showings have only been advertised for 2 days now, so the location is so remote that there haven't been any walk-ins yet.
Tony, something made Powell think it was a good idea to call this in as a murder he witnessed. It's a bit strange, but regardless, we have enough information to arrest him right now.
CS1 310.
Yeah, go ahead, CS1.
Brick, are you close by? Some guy stopped by here and information you might want?
10-4, Mike. We're just about a block from the station on our way to South Seas Plantation to talk to the witness. Ask him to stand by there, will you, and we'll head back.
10-4.
We'll be there in a few minutes.
I wonder what he's got for us.
Yeah, me too. 310, back to CS1.
CS1, go ahead.
Mike, did you guys see those shoe prints we marked alongside the walk?
That's 10-4.
Those sole prints are a bit unusual. You ever see anything like that?
That's 10-4. They look like sole guards or slip protectors that kitchen workers put on their shoes, to keep them slipping on wet or greasy kitchen floors. Probably a kitchen worker or a waiter, something like that. Does that ring any bell for you?
That's 10-4, Mike. It makes a lot of sense to my investigation. Give me the best shots of that as you can, of that right footprint where it seems to be like a cut in the slip protector, will you?
10-4. Hey, good to have you back, Rick.
10-4, Mike. Thanks. It's good to be back. 310 out. Well, Tony, if Pal has slip protectors on his shoes and the right shoe protector has a cut on it, we'll have Pal at the front door of the house and the noose will tighten more.
Yeah, it'll be real hard for Powell to explain his way out of all those holes in his story.
Well, I hope this guy we're going to see has enough dirt on Pal to bury him. You know, Tony, I'm getting a little foggy brained. Those Genius Factor pills Dr. Hidari gave me, they really drained me, you know. I probably shouldn't have taken that extra tablet. I was worried because I missed my regular dose.
Yeah, are you sure those pills are safe, Brick? They haven't been approved by the FDA yet, have they?
No, Tony, but I'm pretty sure they're safe. Dr. Hidari says they have amazing effects on rats in the current studies. The rats in the studies have increased in their ability to find their way out of mazes by 75%. They develop the enhanced ability to determine good outcomes from bad outcomes based on intellectual improvements of their inherent naturally high similarity-based categorization strategies vis-a-vis humans under normal circumstances.
What the heck does that mean, Brick?
Well, Tony, it means that the intellectual abilities of the rats, which are naturally high compared to most creatures, are enhanced by 75% under the influence of the ingredients of the Genius Factor medication.
So all the natural investigative abilities you already have should be increased by 75% when you take the Genius Factor tablets, Brick?
That, my dear Goomba, is the assumption. And over the time since I started taking it, that's been the result.
But, Brick, you ain't no rat. No one knows what the long-term effects on the humans could be. You could turn into some kind of a horrible creature like, in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
I seriously doubt that, Tony.
Well, what about side effects, Brick? Have you noticed anything strange or unusual?
Any side effects have been very minor, other than the extreme foggy brain feeling I get when the pills begin to wear off, and the fact that I can go for long periods of time without sleeping. But I don't consider that a bad thing, you know. It allows me to concentrate on the cases I'm working on and getting lots of work done around the house, you know. Oh, I have developed an unusual craving for cheese and berries and uncooked grains of all kinds. Oh, yeah, and chewing on cardboard boxes. One thing that's a little disturbing is that I developed ailurophobia.
What kind of phobia is that, Rick?
Ailurophobia is a fear of cats, Tony.
You've always been afraid of cats, Brick.
No, Tony, I've always hated cats. I was never afraid of them, but now, I panic when I see one. And lately, I've had nightmares of being chased and eaten by a cat.
Kind of like if you were a rat, huh?
Yeah, I guess. Last night I did dream that I was exercising. You know, I was running in a Ferris wheel kind of thing when a big cat came after me and started chasing me.
Oh, a Ferris wheel thing? You know, like an exercise wheel that pet rats have?
Yeah.
That sounds very strange, Brick. Maybe you should tell Dr. Hidari about that. The Genius Factor pills could be dangerous, you know?
Nah. Only 2 out of 5 of the rats in the study have died during this study.
Hold on a second, Rick. Is your brain still functioning at a high level right now?
Yeah, I'm just a little foggy. Why? What are you doing with your phone?
I'm trying to calculate what percentage 5 mice is of 2 mice.
You don't need a computer for that, Tony. It's very simple. You just divide 2 by 5, then multiply the result by 100.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now hold on. Wait a minute. 2 divided by 5 equals 0.4. Then I multiply the result by 100 bricks. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Darn, I hit the divide button again. That's 0.0040. Is that close enough, Brick?
No.
Hold on, I'll start over again.
It's 40%, Tony. For God's sake, man, didn't you ever take basic math?
Yeah, but I only learned my times table up to 5.
What's that got to do with it?
Well, you said to multiply by 100, and I never learned the 100 times table, so I got confused, and I hit the divide button.
Tony, just let me do any math questions that might arise in the future, okay? 2 is 40% of 5.
Well, Brick, 40% of the rats dying is a lot of dead rats, ain't it?
Well, it's rats, Tony, not humans. They haven't started human trials yet. I'm the only human being taking the medication. It probably won't affect me exactly like rats because, because
of what, Brick?
Well, because I'm Brick Benson, ace detective. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, you could end up 40% dead.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I never thought of it that way. I was thinking more positively, you know. Like 60% of the rats in this study survived. I might have overthought that.
Yeah, I'm thinking like maybe you underthought it.
Anywho, we should clear this up by tomorrow, and then FADA and I will take some time off, and I'll lay off the pills until I talk to Dr. Hadari on Monday.
Yeah, Brick, I think that might be a good idea.
Oh, here we are.